Okay, welcome everybody. Today we are honoured to welcome Mr. Kyriacos Demetriades to the podcast. I apologise for my pronunciation. I'm trying to get
Very good.
tongue around the Greek pronunciations. So Kyriacos is a distinguished alumnus from the school and graduated in 1956. And you were a boarder at the school from 52 to 56. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. Wow. So his deep connection to the school has inspired him to document its remarkable history in the book, The English School Nicosia, 1900s to 1960. It's a historical account from its founding to the end of British rule. So published in 2008, Kyriacos meticulously researched work captures the evolution of the English school during the Cyprus British colonial period. These are real tongue twisters, I think.
2018 it was published.
Yeah, 2018. To get it all out, it's creating quite a tongue twister. Thanks for that. Let me put my teeth back in. Okay, so drawing on material from the school library and National Archives and personal interviews, as well as his own experience, he has created a timeless tribute to an institution that plays a pivotal role in shaping the leaders of Cyprus and beyond. So join us as we delve into Kyriacos' journey and his passion for preserving history and the stories behind his incredible book about this institution, iconic institution that it is. Okay. Tell me.
Said it all.
Yes, that's the summary. And then now let's see if we can break it down. So what inspired you to write the book in the first place?
Well, in the first place, there was no book telling the history of the school comprehensively.
Okay.
So I thought it would be a good idea to do it as a tribute, as a moral duty towards the school. We owe something. We owe something to this institution. Those of us who were lucky enough to be there, and I think we all owe something to the school. It gave us so much.
Yeah.
And something to give
Yeah.
back to the school and to the community of the school. So I did my best to find information from many sources, including the ones you mentioned, but also, very importantly, from the school itself. The documents of Canon Neam himself, which were kept by the then secretary, Helen Leonidou, who was very helpful to me, and she let me delve into his personal documents and photographs and albums and other stuff, which was very interesting. So I'm very, very thankful to her. I went to the British Library as well, had a look there.
Okay.
I found some information there, but primarily, most of my information came from the Cyprus State Archives, because there they keep all the files from the British period.
Oh, interesting.
From 1879, when they started having these files, until 1960. So I had a look into these files, a lot of them, and found the information I used up.
Okay. So is that what framed the time period, 1900s to 1960? Because those were the records that they had on file.
No, they had the records going back to 1879,
All the way,
as
right,
I said.
okay.
But I started from 1900 because the school itself was established in 1900 by Canon Neam. There were attempts before that to establish English schools by Josiah Spencer, Neam's predecessor as the director of education, who was also a churchman. But nothing came to fruition. So when the English school started in 1900, it was with a small handful of pupils. I think 13 pupils, out of which, surprisingly, only one was belonged to the Orthodox community.
Oh, really?
All the other 12 were from the various denominations and communities and races
across the island.
Of the island.
Yeah.
There were Syrian, Franco-Syrians, Maronites. There was an Englishman, Giles, I remember his name. And and a Greek.
Yes, yeah. Yes, I do remember reading in your book the initial reason to starting the school was very much about providing a strong English education to the entire island. It wasn't just about Nicosia, the people in Nicosia and the families in Nicosia, was it? It was originally designed to bring
Yes,
people
we
into
can
the
say
whole
that
island.
it was a school for the whole island. So in my time and before that, started by the early in the 19th century, because it was a school that offered not only good education, but it opened the horizons for people to join the civil service.
Of course.
So joining the civil service in those days was very lucrative. It was very lucrative, in fact, until 1960, when it changed direction. But anyway, families from all over Cyprus wanted to send their sons. It was, again, a boys' school until 1957. Send their sons to the school, mainly to learn English and the new culture from abroad, from England, a leading nation, and also to offer to have the opportunity to join the civil service and secure a good job.
Right.
So it was very competitive then. It is now, but I think it was more competitive in the old days to get into the school. And boys from all over Cyprus came into the school. And that was the reason that there was a need for boarding houses, for accommodation for them to live in. Yes.
So was you being a boarder as well? Were your family from a different part of Cyprus originally?
Yes, I come from a village in the Karpas, northeast of Famagusta.
Ah, okay.
And in fact, I'm the only one from that village to come to the English school.
Really? So you're a legend in the village, yeah?
To this day, but there were other boys from the Carpathia region.
Okay.
There were boys from Paphos and Limassol and Larnaca
All
and the
over.
Trodos area, from all over Cyprus. They came to the school.
Wow.
But they had to pass a tough exam, very competitive. And also, I'm sure you know by now that not only it was the Greeks, but the Turks as well. And the Maronites and the Armenians and the Catholics and some English boys as well, whose parents were
right
the civil service here.
Yeah.
So it was a very multinational community at the school.
Amazing.
Which is, I think, a great attribute.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, and at the end of the day, whatever your history, you're all still people trying to learn, trying to advance, trying to look after your families and stuff. So it's nice that within the school walls, it's not discriminatory. It's open to everybody.
Yes, in fact, it was the school's principals or Newhouse principals, which also became the first principals, George Sims principles in 1936, that it was a school for all races and all creeds and all cultures, but there was equality among everybody. It was one of the principles of the school.
Fantastic.
And then we were also taught to have honor and be honorable and worthy men to society.
Yeah.
And to accept everybody as equal. And to be proud of the school. That's what we
nice.
are taught to be.
Very nice.
And to cooperate and live with each other. For instance, in the boarding houses, again, there was this mixed community, different races and different languages, mother tongues as well.
Of course.
And different backgrounds. And of course, it was mostly poor boys who came from the countryside.
Right.
Not the townspeople like it is today. It's mostly from Nicosia now.
Yeah.
It was poor boys, but the clever boys, as Newham used to say, who came to the school, and they mixed together and they created a school community, I can say.
Amazing.
They got on very well. They learned from each other. It was nice to experience other people's knowledge and backgrounds, and hear their tongue as well.
Yeah.
And, most of us, at least at the boarding house, got to know at least a few words from each of their languages, mother tongues.
Yeah, I can imagine, because in the classroom, you're so focused on the classroom, but in the social life and the boarding house, like you would slip back to the mother
Yes,
tongue, and different religions have different rituals and
that's right.
different days of worship and things like that. So you had to know those in order to get on as a community within the school,
Yes,
and great exposure for, like say, all of you, because you could all then see there are many other religions in the world and many other creeds, and at the end of the day, you're all trying to be good boys and show honor and respect and stuff. So fantastic.
yeah. Well,
Amazing.
I have a background. My father and mother were farmers from a farming community, and from a small village. I didn't have the chance to meet people from other races and religions.
Yeah, right.
So I had this chance at the school, and I saw that they're just the same as us, same as
Yeah.
everybody. And I
Yeah.
had to accept the Mohammedan religion and the
Mm-mm.
Catholic religion and the
Mhm.
Protestants and everything else that
Mm.
was there. And I remember at the school there was no discrimination whatsoever. It was one of the principles of the schools again.
Right, right.
To have no discrimination in terms of religion.
Mm-mm.
Everybody was free to practice their own religion, and all the Greeks were taken, at least from the boarding houses. They were gathered together, and we marched to one of the churches near us in
Right.
Strovolos or in Gikko.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
marched all together, and the Turks, the Mohammedans, were taken to a mosque downtown
Right.
separately. Yeah, and that was. These are some moments I remember well.
Yeah.
Walking down the
Yeah.
street, say 100 of us, marching together, going to the church.
Amazing. Amazing. Are you still in contact with some of those boys now? Well, they're not, obviously they're men
Yeah,
now.
very
They're
much so.
still the friends.
I'm very much in contact with a lot of Greeks who are on this side, of course.
Mm-mm.
It's much easier. Some Greeks abroad, but also some Turkish and Armenian and Maronite friends
Mm-mm.
who came from the school. And I am proud to say that some of my best friends come from that school period.
Wow.
In fact,
Wow.
with 2 or 3 of them, very close to this
Fantastic.
day. And
Yeah.
we meet up together, and we get in touch with other school boys.
Yeah.
We
Nice.
don't keep ourselves,
Mm.
confined to the school community, but we keep close. And
Yeah. But
we
you
have
have
the same strong feelings of love and respect
I was going to ask
and
that.
pride
Yeah.
about our school.
I was going to ask
It is
that.
our alma mater.
Yeah.
We owe so much to it. It gave us so much. It made us, humbly to say, whatever we are today. It shaped our future. It shaped our careers. For
Wow.
instance, I had the chance to go to London, to the UK to study. If I hadn't gone to the English school, I doubt it whether in
Really?
those days, now it's very easy, but in those it wasn't easy. Very few people went on to university because people went into the civil service. And even from the gymnasiums, it was very difficult
Right, right.
in terms of financial ability, but also from the point of view of knowing adequately English to study at the university.
Yeah.
So going to the English school gave me all these
A lot of opportunities.
opportunities.
Yeah. So you mentioned some of the core feelings when you meet back up with the alumni, and you've also mentioned that that you taught at the school to show honor and everything. Is there other core things that you feel that the school was responsible for your character as you grew up?
Well, character building was one of the
Yeah.
aims of the school,
Right.
and it was achieved by all these attributes which I mentioned before, by being honorable, by being wide-minded, by accepting other people as equals. But one important thing which was practiced at the school and taught, and it even became compulsory at the time, was participating in sports and athletics.
Okay.
And that brought people together.
Mm.
We were living together, we were studying together, we were playing together,
Yeah.
and we grew up together.
Wow.
That's why we became so tight, closely together. So shaping the character was very, very important, and I think it played a big role in our lives, in our later lives.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Very nice. That I hear a lot of those kind of core beliefs and core character traits when I talk to a lot of the alumni. And the school's obviously done an incredible job in instilling those really important values in each and every one of their students. It's lovely to see how consistent it is across all the
Yeah.
generations of people that I have interviewed. So
Of course,
very
other
nice.
important factors that they instilled into us was decency
Right.
and the feeling or the need to set high goals in your life and
Okay.
strive for them.
Yeah,
Whether you
right.
achieve them or not is another matter,
Yeah.
but set high goals and strive to achieve them.
Mm.
And being decent and honorable in your
Yeah.
actions,
Yeah.
whatever you do. So,
What about resilience? Do you feel like they taught you resilience? Did you feel like you're a
yeah, they
resilient
told us
student?
resilience, hard work,
Yeah.
and to labor for long periods of time,
Mm-mm.
and to learn to face things, hardships and
Yeah.
difficulties in a straightforward and manly way and behavior,
Yeah.
to take them astride in your life, rather than being narrow-minded and complaining and
Mm-mm. Mm.
yes, to face difficulties in life.
Yeah. Because it doesn't stop, does it? The difficulties in life never
Doesn't stop.
stop.
I mean, and it stems back to your school days, not only
Mm.
from the family, but perhaps more importantly, from the school days and what you learned at
Mm.
the school or you were instilled at the school.
Mm-mm.
Because I'm sure all of us looked up to some teacher or somebody else at that age,
Mm-mm.
and some of them influenced us
Of course.
tremendously
Yeah.
in what we
Yeah.
did after
Yeah.
that.
I'm sure.
I remember some of them. For instance, I remember some names in my time. We had an Armenian music teacher, Mr.Demetriades,
Okay.
who was a very good violinist, and he came into the class playing a solo of Minuet Bath, for instance, or Cavalleria Rusticana, or some other piece,
Right.
musical
Yeah.
piece. He just play, then stop. He said, "Music is the food of soul, my boys. So let's carry on." It made a good start to the lesson.
Yeah. Nice.
Well,
Very
we had
nice.
another one, Panos Ioannou, who was a Greek teacher. He taught us Greek, but he was so cheerful and kind to people. And he always came into the class reciting a poem. And that made
Nice.
our day. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, he had a ruler in his hand and he slapped us on the cheek if we didn't
Yeah, you weren't paying
respond to
attention.
his
Yeah, yeah.
requests. It was very lovely. It was really very good. We were lucky enough to have good teachers. I'm
Yeah.
sure they do today,
Mm-mm-mm.
but I only know about my day.
Mm.
We had Gessonergis, for instance, who was a very famous artist, a painter.
Right. Okay.
Yes, we had him.
And he was a teacher at the school as well.
He was a teacher at the school then, yes.
Ah, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was one of my questions later was, can you then think of any teachers that have had an impact on you? So now you've just named 3.
Yeah, I
that were
remember
there.
others as well. It was Mr. Raif who taught us, a Turkish teacher who taught us geography. He
Okay.
was a very good teacher and a kind man.
Mm.
Necat Bey, another Turkish teacher who taught us Turkish. By the way, all Greek boys had to learn Turkish.
Really?
Boys in my time, why?
Yeah.
And all Turkish boys had to learn Greek.
Greek. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
had to pass the Cyprus certificate exam as well.
No. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
We did that in the 3rd year. And why? Because it was a prerequisite to join the civil service to have Turkish and
Of
Greek
course.
at that level.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of us had to learn Turkish or Greek.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Greek was taught to everyone,
Mm-mm.
and Turkish was taught to everyone again.
Wow.
It was very useful. It was
Yeah.
very useful, I
Of
must say.
course.
So Necat Bey
Yeah.
was a very nice,
Yeah.
from the time of Newham.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
old teacher.
I mean, you touched there briefly about the ruler piece, and
Yeah.
even in my day, there was still a little bit of punishment, physical
Yeah,
punishment.
yeah.
I mean, what do you think makes a good teacher? What is the core element? Let's take out the physical punishment side of this. Um, what does those teachers that you've just mentioned? What is it that they did in order that you remember them so well?
Well,
Can you
first of
think
all,
of?
they had to be good teachers,
Yeah,
and they had to be able to convey in a nice way,
right.
to be kind to boys, and also capable of persuading them to learn what they teach. But to have a nice character and be kind to people,
Yeah,
and also be interested and guide them along as well.
yeah.
So, and also to be cheerful in class, not to be strict all the time. And
Yeah, it
I
strikes.
remember we had an Englishman, a PT teacher, a physical exercise teacher, was somebody called Mr. Brown, who was an ex-military major in the army, in British Army.
Okay.
He was a very good but very strict.
Right.
He used to come around and punch us in the stomach. So everybody felt punches him, but he was liked because he was very good at his job.
Really?
And then another very likable teacher was Mr. Shomelian, an Armenian teacher who was an English teacher along with Mr. Cook. Again, he used he was a very popular teacher, but he used the so-called Shomelian is his name, Shomelian hammer. This was the Shomelian hammer on somebody's head.
No.
If he didn't respond well, he went along. You will remember my boy, the Shomelian hammer.
And to this day, you never forget it, right?
I don't, because I felt it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
experienced.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They
I'm
were rather
sure.
lucky and fortunate and happy moments, especially at the boarding house.
Yeah.
We had a housemaster then called what's his name? I forget his name now. Anyway, Lightbody, Mr. Lightbody.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a housemaster who became later on the director of education in the
In the ministry.
civil service.
Oh,
yes,
nice.
administrator. But he had metal points on his shoes. So when you walked along the verandas, he used to make tuck, 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 very.
You could hear him, right?
We used to call him Tagalaki. That is very forthcoming and persuasive and very strong and
Oh, really?
very tall. So he was very imposing.
Yeah.
I remember him very well. And other things I remember, of course, our days at the pitches when we played the sports. I used to admire the good athletes.
Yeah.
And at the boarding house also, we played various games outside the school curriculum, like volleyball, for instance.
Okay.
Or hockey with sticks cut from the trees. We didn't have proper sticks. They only had them at the school. Mr. Brown had them.
Right.
We used to play in the grounds around and studying under the acacia trees. You know.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So many things to remember.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, but we have things to remember from the school as well.
Yeah. Wow. Right. So I'm going to just pull you back to the publishing the book for a couple of questions. So it was published in 2018.
Yes.
How long did it take you from the idea to actually having it published? What was the sort of timeline? I'm thinking about if somebody else wants to do a project of this size. Talk me through the timeline and how long it took you.
Well, it took me altogether about 3.5 years, including the research period, the writing time, and the publishing. About 3 to 3.5 years, yes.
Okay.
But it depends. You mentioned somebody writing another book since 1960, which I think it's a very good idea to be taken up by somebody who has experienced this time period.
That time period, yeah.
Not like me.
Yeah. Okay.
It depends whether he has sources to gather information easily from. It wouldn't be from Newham's material, for instance. I'm not sure the state archives would be very helpful. but he has to do some search to find information from the school mostly, school library perhaps, and to talk to people. I had to talk to people as well. Personal interviews to get information, and people who experienced
Yeah.
the school life in that time.
Okay.
It's got to be somebody who has gone to the school after 1960. So he has to spend some time on it,
Yeah.
make a lot of effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
It needs time. It's effort. It needs dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Somebody that's actually been to the school during that period can speak to that experience firsthand.
Yes.
Because I know there was a little hint sometimes that you may be doing a follow-up book
Yeah.
to it. Has that got any more ideas there, or?
No, I don't intend to write
Okay.
another book on the school. That's why I say I think it's much better if somebody younger than me does it, who has lived a later period.
Yeah.
Be much more suitable to write it than me,
Okay.
because I'm also engaged in other
And your other
writing,
activities.
so
Yeah.
I don't have time to embark on this
Yeah.
again.
Fair enough. And and it makes sense that somebody write it who's been there during that time period. So, was there anything amazing that you unraveled while you were doing the research? Was there anything, a fascinating discovery that came to mind that you were like, can I publish this? Can I not publish this? Or is there?
No, there were several things. For instance, starting from the very beginning, I found out that it was 13 boys, which I mentioned. Started the school with 13 boys of so many denominations and races.
Okay.
It was a surprise to me. And then in the late 1920s, I found that the school called itself commercial college or commercial school.
Oh,
this was to
interesting
broaden
word.
its spaces,
Yeah.
its space, I think, and draw more students, which it did. It gradually expanded in numbers, but it ran into financial trouble.
Oh,
And
okay.
they were asking for funds primarily from the old boys, and even the governor, Ronald Storrs, in those days, opened an appeal fund, which did well. It helped the school. But I think most surprising that I found, the most surprising thing that I found was that the schoolhouse, that is the ex-headmaster's residence, which is there now, not used by the headmaster anymore, was at one time built for the chief justice of the island, who found out in the end that he lived for a few months and then he moved out because he found that it was too far from town, too far from the courts.
Oh,
He was the
really?
chief justice.
Yeah.
So he moved out and he wouldn't live there anymore. And so would subsequent chief justices. Became vacant until 1932. It was built in 1927, I think.
Wow, such a
In
beautiful
1932,
position.
when it was passed over to
To the school.
no, in 1931 to 34, it became the government house. When the government
Okay.
was burned down in 1931 from uprisings, it became the government house where the governor used to live for 3 years until 1934, before it was passed on to the school. So I found it was a big surprise to me to find that the governor was living in that house.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of history.
Yeah.
Your memory is incredible. How is your memory so good? How can you remember these dates? I'm listening to you.
I lived these experiences.
Yeah, but
I didn't
it's
learn
just,
them. I lived them.
yeah, it's just so clear in your mind. I'm blown away with how clear your memory is. It's very impressive.
Well, I try to keep active.
Yeah.
I always had a good memory. I can pride myself.
There is the Mediterranean lifestyle.
If you are engaged in something, it's easier to remember.
Yeah, I guess.
It's no big.
Yeah, I guess, instead of a sedentary lifestyle. Okay, so what role do you think that the English school played in the broader societal education of Cyprus during the British rule? Do you think that the students that came from the school actually moved into Cyprus and then have started to grow it? Do you think that had an effect on? You talked a lot at the beginning about them being part of the civil service.
Yes,
Do you think the school had an influence on shaping the Cypriot civil service during the British rule?
definitely. Yeah, the school had a big role in shaping the civil service because many of its students joined the civil service,
Right.
and they could speak English very well, which was necessary
Mm-mm.
in the colonial government. That's where they came mostly from the English school.
Okay.
But I think uh, talking about the Cyprus society, this multinational society, it was represented at the school. All of them had students going to the school,
Yeah.
and going there, they had to learn English. In the first year was spent at the school learning English because going from the village like me, I didn't know a word of English.
Wow.
So I had to learn English the first year intensively so
Yeah.
that I could join in the second year lessons in English. I can take up lessons in English. That's what happened to all the boys in the first form because whether they were Greek or Maronite or Armenians or Turkish, all of us had to learn English. And they all shaped very well into their school life, I must say. And they, again, living together, playing together, we were shaped into one community
Yeah.
with close connections.
Yeah.
And that was an example to follow in the Cyprus society, which unfortunately was not
Right.
all the time. So
very
it has a big role and a big impact on the Cyprus society and on the Cyprus education because I said it before, it offered the highest standard of education. In my opinion, was if not the best among the best schools in the island.
Of course.
And that's why most people wanted to
It
join
was
it.
quite a forward vision of Canon Neam and when they started the school to have no discrimination, to have boys from all over the island. I mean, it's like a United Nations type of school, way back then. And it's like, it's very forward thinking vision instead of very, myopic, which is incredible, right? So he must have been a really impressive gentleman,
Yes.
Canon Neam, from what I've read about him as well. And I guess you probably found out quite a lot about him as you were researching from the book as well and living part of it, right?
You're right. I must agree with you there. Canon Neam was a towering figure, not only in terms of the school, but also he was the director of education for the whole of Cyprus. So he did much to improve and widen the education in the whole island. He made the school again to offer its students back to the society of Cyprus, not only to the civil service, but some of them became teachers, for instance. They didn't join some of them, lucky enough, studied abroad,
Right.
mostly in England or Beirut,
Yeah.
the American university there. Some of them managed to go to Greece as well. So the impact of the school was across the Cyprus society.
Yeah.
And Canon Neam, as you say, he was a big visionary. He
Must have been.
he saw way ahead of his time. So he instilled all these principles in the boys of the school, and he made Cyprus his home in the end.
Yeah, right.
And the education of Cyprus,
Yeah.
his intention.
Yeah, wow. One man had such a massive effect on history, right?
Yeah, he influenced the history of Cyprus
Hugely.
through the school and through the education.
Yeah.
The Department of Education in Cyprus.
Yeah.
And not only that, he was interested in other schools as well, in the Greek schools, in the Turkish schools. And he even managed, he had a very influential hand in establishing BLITZ school in Lemithou. He was on the board of that school until he died. And when he died, he had one house in Kyrenia, which he bequeathed to that school, not to the English school, because the English school was getting on fine. And that BLITZ school was rather in more difficulty in that remote village. So he left his house to the school.
Wow.
But Neam is a name not only to remember, but although it will be written in the annals of Cyprus history.
Yeah, and everybody else, everybody that's come through the school because of him
I
and
must
because of
say,
his
I just
legacy.
remember saying Newham, he had some very good collaborators. I must remember the name of Dimitris Libertis, who is a national poet of Cyprus. He taught there for 25 years.
Right.
He taught French. He studied in Beirut and France,
Yeah, right.
and he taught there for 25 years, and he was a close friend of Newham.
Wow.
Yes.
So I'm going to take you back to a typical day in the life of you at the school. So could you talk me from waking up to going to bed, what that looked like? That's going to take you right back, right?
Yeah, it takes me right back.
Yeah.
As I said, I was a boarder. So we were raising up early in the morning in the boarding school. We had a bell ringing, waking us up. And we had to make our beds very early, get dressed, clean our shoes, and be clean to go to breakfast. And there was an inspection by the housemaster or one of the formasters living in the boarding house. Come round to see that the beds were made, that we were clean enough and presentable to go to lunch.
So quite military precision in that
discipline,
way.
As I say,
discipline.
Which was useful, I must say. It was useful. We learned many things being
Do you
disciplined.
still make your bed now?
I do.
Do you?
And I still polish my shoes. I do, honestly.
Very good. I'm pleased to hear it. So discipline right from the very beginning. Sorry, I interrupted.
And I set up my breakfast as well. Anyway, after breakfast, we rushed to school, which started in those days at 7:45. I remember the time. And we started off the day with an assembly at the big hall, at the school hall. All the Christians were there, and we all sang. We had a hymn to sing with, I remember Mr. Jackson, who was the headmaster, played the piano, or Mr. Zetta, the history teacher, played the piano, or anyway, some of the students played the piano as well.
Wow.
And we all sang British hymns.
Really?
Yeah, Christian hymns.
Yeah.
Christian, not English or Greek. Yeah. And the Turkish boys had to meet separately in another room, having a prayer of their own, since they were not Christian. So that's how the school started. It was very nice, singing all together, all the boys in one big hall. It made the day and made us ready to start the lessons. Yeah. So we had the lessons, and we had recess breaks. I think there were 2 recess breaks, gathering in the school yard, and we would talk to each other, trying to talk in English rather than our own mother tongue. And we got to know each other, not only among the boarders, but the outsiders as well, who lived outside the school, who lived downtown. Okay. So we got to know everybody. The prefects, of course, were around, seeing that we were well behaved.
Yeah.
I must make a point here that, making a point about the modern buildings of the school, which are not very compatible, I must say, with the old original stone building. Not in architectural style, not in form or building materials. I think they could have done a better job. And also, some of the yard, a big part of the yard, the schoolyard has been taken up by the school. There was plenty of space to set that building further away from the school and keep the yard, because that was a meeting place. Yeah. And now with the school being twice the size of what was then, say about 11 or 1,200 students now, there's only about 550 students in my day. That space is not enough for them to meet there. So I think they could have done a better job. Yeah. I'm not criticizing, I'm just making a point that it's a pity that the schoolyard has gone as it was, and that the new buildings are not very compatible. The science building is not compatible at all.
It's a strange one, the science building, isn't it?
I think it's very... It may be useful inside, but architecture matters, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think, like you say, it's very important for a community like the school to have a central area like a market square, like you would have in a village,
Yes.
because that's where
Yes.
everybody comes and that's where
A meeting
everybody meets.
place.
It's a meeting place,
It was a
isn't it?
meeting
And
place for everybody's.
when you start to break that up, then the community starts to break up because it's not centered around a set place. That's really interesting. Yeah. And if they eat into it, then the relationships start to fracture as well because you don't have that. Yeah, okay,
And there was a
interesting.
small canteen in the corner
Yeah.
selling soft drinks and tashinopita, for instance.
Right.
Everybody used to buy that. You know what tashinopita is?
No.
It's a tahini pie, a sweet,
Okay.
sweet that it is even sold today. It's very common today. It used to be sold at the school canteen, and most of the boys who had money to spend bought the tashinopita, and they shared it with other boys in the schoolyard again, meeting there.
Yeah.
A different life altogether. In those days. Now there's a big canteen with the boys having plenty of money in their pockets.
Yeah. A
It
lot
was
of changes.
very different then.
I can imagine.
very
I can
different
imagine.
then.
So that would be your lunchtime, and then would you have afternoon lessons as well? Because it's getting warm in the afternoon.
No, we didn't have afternoon lessons,
Okay.
but we had in the afternoon we had games
Okay.
down in the big stadium, the football ground. We used to gather there and have games. And talking about games, I must say something about the games and the sports meetings we had with the American Academy of Larnaca.
Oh yes.
Every year we had them until, I think it continued until the 1970s or so, or 80s. Anyway, it's a pity they gave it up. But they started in 1914, I think, with a shield donated by the then High Commissioner, Gould Adams, Sir Hamilton Gould Adams.
Yeah.
And it was a very keen competition between the two schools. They came up once a year to the English school, and the English school went down to Larnaca, to the academy grounds once a year, and they played hockey and football.
Yeah, right.
And tennis and athletics. Very keen competition.
Yeah.
And we also had inter-school activities or sports sometimes, including the Melconian School and also the Teachers Training College.
Nice.
So, as I say, athletics were a big part of the school life, as were the grounds and the installations and the building itself. Very imposing. In the day. Even today, I think it's a very imposing and a nice building.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Historic building.
It gives you a feeling of the history and it's like you say, it is imposing, isn't it? You
It
get
was
the
opened,
sense.
by the way, the main school building was opened by, again, the governor, Sir Herbert Palmer,
Okay.
who was High Commissioner in 1939 when it opened.
Yeah. Wow.
And he gave a nice opening speech talking about honor.
Really?
An honorable
Interesting.
man giving advice to the boys of the school.
So,
And about honor, he mentioned that he was told a story in Paphos one day when visiting Paphos, that 3 boys started from Paphos to come to Nicosia. And one of the 3 boys got lost in Nicosia.
Oh.
And his name was Ona.
Oh.
He was lost.
Yeah.
Never found. The motto is that once honor is lost, can never be found again. That was
kind of makes sense, right? Yeah. Wow. So then the afternoon was games, and then did you have some downtime before dinner? And then was it dinner and straight to bed, or did you have prep time or study?
We had prep time after dinner in the evening. I think it was about an hour and a half for the juniors and 2 hours for the seniors in the boarding houses. Yes, it was compulsory, which was very useful. We had to learn our lessons well. In the afternoon, we had a free time also, apart from the school grounds, because we didn't have games set every day, organized by the school, that is, but we had games of our own, organizing ourselves, playing games in the grounds around the boarding houses.
Nice. Building your friendships and relationships and things like that. Very nice.
I remember I was a boarder at the Alks boarding house, which now is part of the gymnasium there. I say unfortunately, because I believe, I'm a staunch believer that building ought to be return to the school.
Right.
It's part of its legacy.
Yeah.
And I don't think much is being done about it.
Mm.
The gymnasium there was given plenty of space.
Yeah,
They
right.
built they built their own
Mm.
buildings.
Yeah,
They
okay.
can build more and give that building back to the school.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So a little bit different, your typical day then to the typical day now, right?
Yeah, now the school is much bigger, of course. It's still an institute of excellence in education, offering excellence and achieving great results. And its alumni are doing very well, not only Cyprus, but all over the world, and all the professions,
Yeah.
all the sciences, and all the works of life. Still a very important institution.
Yeah, it is, and it's reaching further and wider as the more I'm getting involved in the alumni piece, than talking to people, and
It's good students are going to the best universities in Europe, in England, and in America.
Yeah,
They're doing very well.
yeah, they're doing
And so
incredibly
it's
well.
it has become very reputable. It was always very reputable after the initial stages, I must say. And I'm glad to say it still keeps that standard, very high standard.
Yeah,
And I hope it goes on well into the future, because not only offers excellence in education, it's an institution useful to the society of Cyprus. And I hope it goes on for a long time.
Yeah, I agree with you. You mentioned that you've recently been to London and had a reunion with some of your classmates. Tell me a little bit about that. That's putting a smile on your face, so I'm assuming it was a great reunion.
It was a great reunion. I studied geography in the early 1960s, going back a few decades.
Yeah.
Quite a few decades. And we had a reunion earlier this year in London, organized by a couple of my classmates. And of course, I want to join them because it was very inviting. They invited me, and I went alone. I was the only non-English boy in the whole class.
Right.
There were 30 English boys and myself doing geography and history. So it was very enjoyable. We talked about our experiences in life, our careers in life, our families, and what we are doing today, how we spend our time. Some of them did very well.
Nice.
A couple of them got an OBE.
No,
One of them-
really?
yeah, they got
Incredible.
high positions
Yeah,
in England in the various professions.
that's
It was
incredible.
very interesting to see them and hear them.
Yeah,
We
wow.
had a nice lunch and wine. I had a very nice time.
Fantastic.
And we promised when the 60th anniversary comes up, which is not very long from
Is
now,
it not from now? Okay.
to meet up again.
Yeah,
So
really.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Wow.
Very much.
That'll be great. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
quite a few years since you've seen them also, right?
Very interesting, yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Oh,
Of course,
wow.
I had difficulty in recognizing some of them,
I'm sure.
and some of them didn't recognize me either because of the years passing by.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting.
And did it feel like you've never even been apart? As soon as you start talking,
We
you
were
just
very close to
the
each other.
connection is still
Yeah,
there, right? The
yeah.
values are still there that
I
you
was
talked
looking at
about.
them as they were. They were different form and appearance,
Yeah.
but the person was there, the same person.
The connection is
Yeah,
still there. Amazing.
And the ones I was friendly with,
Yeah.
and we used to go out having coffee and going to football matches and all that,
Wow.
and running after girls, that. A couple of them were there, and we talked about old times, and it was so interesting.
Oh, I bet. I bet it was a lot of fun reminiscing, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. That's lovely. That's really great. So, do you have any advice for alumni or current students about how they can honor the school legacy now? Or what would you like to see, other than we talked about a follow up from the book? But how would you like to see an alumni honor the legacy of the school now? Do you have anything that springs to mind? Any ideas or thoughts or
Yeah, I'd like to see them keep up close contact, first of all, between them. And I think you're doing a good job in the alumni
thank you.
job you're doing, the alumni work. that is, I think, very important to keep the community close together, to visit the school as much as they can and feel close to it. And of course, the school, on the other hand, has a role to be inviting to them.
Yeah.
A SOPCA, I think, could do, I think, a little better job because there is no meeting place anymore. The SOPCA grounds are not available for the students of the school anymore, but I think they should.
Yeah.
And I believe they should be proud of their school, to feel proud wherever they are.
Yeah.
Talk about it and promote
With
its
pride.
interests and
Yeah.
support it.
Yeah.
They must support it and feel proud about their school.
Yeah.
One thing I must mention again is that despite the school having so much history and so many interesting happenings around it, there is no school museum. And there is so many things to cherish and preserve. For instance, schools documents, and there are quite a few of them. Many photographs, some of the old belongings to the canon, like his original chest with which he traveled to Cyprus, and many other documents and mark books and whatever. They're getting lost and destroyed by the time as time goes on. Nobody cares about them. There are many other things to preserve in a museum, and I think they should set up a museum. They have the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They
I
have,
mean, it would be so great to, now you're talking about it, think about creating a project where we could get donations from the alumni if the money is an issue in setting it up, and then finding a curator who has a particular passion to do it and that's actually involved in it. So, and then we get each alumni to have their name written on the bricks,
Yes.
you know, because they've contributed to the building. I mean, that's the kind of thing I'd like to see moving forward. And I agree with you because there is a lot of legacy. I mean, especially in the images that you've got in here as well. The photos are incredible. And there are some in the board house. The board used
Most of
the
those
house.
pictures I got from Newham's.
Yeah, from
documents.
the chest and stuff. So there's plenty of stuff here. So it would be, I think that might be my next project. I think
it would be a very
Let's
useful
see if we can
project
push that one.
and easy to set
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
And I think most of the graduates of the school would be interested
be happy to
and
do that.
contribute
Yeah,
to it as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So the Pancyprian Gymnasium, for instance, which is another big and important school of the island, has a very nice museum
Oh, really?
next to its buildings.
Ah,
And it's got
okay.
a lot of interesting stuff there, which relates the history of the school.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'm
why
gonna-
not the English school?
Yeah.
The English, they can use part of the ground floor of the old headmasters' house.
Yeah.
It's very suitable for a museum there.
It's perfect
Have the
location,
space.
isn't it?
Or
Yeah.
even, as you say, build another separate one somewhere with a curator.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the graduates will contribute. I would.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
they decide to set it up. And
Yeah.
please tell your husband, the headmaster has a role on this to play.
I will.
He-
Well,
he has a hand in it. So if
Yeah.
he takes it up, I think it would be his own legacy as well to the school.
That would be great. That would,
would be.
to actually make a contribution towards it. That would be incredible. I think I'm going to go and have a look at that museum and get some inspiration from the other school.
Pancyprian. It's,
Yeah,
you
the
know where the
Pancyprian one.
Pancyprian Gymnasium is?
I don't, but I
It's-
can find it.
It's next to or opposite the Archbishopric
Oh, okay.
of Cyprus there.
Yeah, I'll go and see what
It's
they've
open,
got and see if we can.
during school hours, as far as I know.
Yeah. Okay.
Very interesting to look at.
Yeah.
And I think you take it up, please, with your husband. Take it up and put it across the board.
All right then.
I mentioned it in there, but
Yeah.
it's different if
Yeah.
headmaster and yourself take it up.
We try, and if we can get the
You
alumni.
have a role to play now with the alumni. So
Exactly. We get the alumni behind us. Maybe we can get this one off the ground, right?
Yes,
That would be
yes.
great. So
that'd be nice.
perfect. Well, it's been incredible talking to you. Thank you, Kyriacos. It's been, and I've really enjoyed reading your book. And so just to let everybody know that the book is available for sale, I will put the information in the notes below. If you would like to get a copy, it's great for a parent of yours that has been through the school. And it's just a lovely coffee table book as well. So do you have any closing comments before we wrap up?
Well, first of all, to thank you for giving me this opportunity to express myself in the way I have,
Oh, you're welcome.
to say that I'm very proud I've gone to the English school, and my 3 children, my son and my 2 daughters, have gone there, and I'm very proud.
Lovely.
And I want my grandchildren to go there, to
Nice.
keep up that tradition.
Yeah,
And I
nice.
hope many people
Mm,
or many graduates of the school feel like I do.
mm.
Thank you very
Lovely.
much for
Thank
everything.
you. That's great. We haven't even got into your family and the history and stuff, which maybe means I get to invite you back, and then we can discuss that through the family.
I can
Maybe a
tell you now,
3-generational
I have a
approach.
son who was a head boy at the school, and he studied law at Cambridge,
Right.
and he's
Nice.
a neurosurgeon. He was in London, now he's in Edinburgh, a specialist up there,
That's right.
and he's the chairman of the European Union of Neurosurgeons.
Wow.
Doing very well. I'm very
Wow.
proud of him.
Yeah. Wow.
My one daughter, I have 2 daughters. One of them studied law
Mm.
in London and Cambridge, and also a second daughter who did philosophy at Bristol and
Wow.
international relations at the London School of Economics.
Very nice.
So they did all very well.
Wow. You really got
Better than
scholars as
me.
kids as well, right?
Very proud of them. For that closing express.
Yeah.
I'm very proud I've been to that school.
Amazing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for